Hey guys, I am going to go through how to put together my newest lantern today, the hot air balloon. So excited for this. Don't be afraid. I need to start a series called Don't Be Afraid of That File. It's super easy. Again, everything holds together with tension. There's just a little bit of glue involved in this one, which isn't normally my forte, but because it does have a hanging basket, we need to kind of get it to stick on there right. This is using the tension lantern method that I've used on my other lanterns, and it has a little bit of living hinge to it, so you guys will get to play around with that too. Hope you're excited, so let's get started. All right, so we're going to try a new angle view, and hopefully this will be a little more helpful for folks as we put things together. I'm pretty good at designing, pretty good at putting things together, not the best at video, so we're getting there, boys and girls, we are getting there. So this is the balloon, hot air balloon lantern. So I've got my main body here. I've got we'll call this part one. So part one has a notch at the top and a hole at the bottom. And then part two is got the notch at the top, no hole at the bottom. So we're going to keep those. We've got our connectors, we've got our lenses, we've got our living hinge, cute little basket that we're going to put together. I also have my chain and then the other pieces of the basket. The main part of this is putting the body together. This is what kind of trips everybody up. So hopefully this video will help a little more. I start with the main body, and then I'm going to take the part one, which has the top and the bottom, and I'm going to kind of thread this in here so that it hooks into the top, and I've got a nice little opening at the bottom here, and I'm going to hold this toward the bottom. Now I'm going to slide this around so I can see a little bit of daylight in my blue acrylic between my blue and my silver, and I'm going to hold the bottom here like this. Then I'm going to pull body part number two. That sounds weird. I'm going to pull this next body part, or the next part number two, and I'm going to also thread this in. And I'm going to push this piece that goes up to the top. You can see I've got it kind of pulled apart here because we're going to weave it in to this top part. So I'm going to make sure that it goes kind of catty corner to all of these pieces. And then I'm going to slide it into that daylight between the blue and the silver on the bottom. It takes a little bit of a steadier hand than I have some days, but if we maneuver it, nothing should have to be forced on any of these because this is a bigger lantern. It's just a little clunkier when you're one person trying to put together something of this size that fits together like this. But when you're done, it should kind of all be snapped into place. As you can see, it's got the crisscross at the top. And I'm using acrylic. It's a little flexible. Acrylic and MDF have a little bit of give. That's why I tend to like those two. So we've got the body put together. I like putting the connectors on. These are your connectors on upside down. So I'm putting the bottom of my balloon down. I'm going to put the first connector in the top of the balloon. Also, pay attention. We've got some notching here that matches our notches here. When we're putting these in, the trick is to not slide it into the notches to begin with. Then it creates a little too much tension. It makes it harder for us to get all of the legs or the arms of the balloon into these spaces, because you kind of want it like that. And then you can start shimmying it down until it clicks into place. And it should click in pretty snug. And it should fit into all of these little spots. Again, it looks like I'm missing a spot here, so I'm going to give that a little more of a push. There we go. And everything is in its rightful place. I'm going to go ahead and put the base part on. I'm going to definitely be holding on to my top piece while I do that, just so these don't slide around. But we're going to do the same thing, right? We're going to put this on kind of loosely, not putting it into the bottom notches yet, so that we still have some room, some wiggle room to play. Of course, I say that and it slides right into the bottom notch. This is when you need 3 hands, or a friend sometimes. I promise you guys, this does slide together. There we go, there we go. Once I've got all of these pieces there, I can start, again, jimmying it down or wiggling it down a little bit until all of my pieces snap into place. There we go. Now I'm not pushing hard, I'm just wiggling and moving things, and I'm going around the circle, so I'm not trying to break my acrylic, but I am giving it like firm, even pressure. And that is how we put the body together. The next thing we're going to do is our lenses. So the easiest way to put these in is to go ahead and bend. Now, I like the matte side of my lens out. Some people like the shiny side out. It's up to you. But because I like the matte side of my lens out, I'm going to bend these out toward me. Once I've done that, I can slide it very easily into that slot there and into my top slot here. You can see my little piece of acrylic came out of that little slot, and that's okay too. And then just a good tug, first lens in on that side. I'm going to go ahead and do a crisscross. I'm going to do the catty corner, other side, opposite side, so that I've got equal tension on both sides of this as I'm putting the rest of the pieces in. Pull and pull. All right, so now I've got one on this side, one on this side. I can go ahead and start putting the rest of those lenses in, and we can continue to move forward. All right, so I've got all my lenses in, and I just grabbed a little roll of tape to set this on. I always leave one tucked the other way, just so I can put my lights in, but the rest of them are all in. So the next thing we're going to want to put together is our basket. So this is the basket for you. This is the living hinge basket that you already cut out. So all we're going to do is really kind of snugly fit that into one of our circles. They're both the same size, so it's not a big deal. So we're just going to do that. And then go ahead and put the other circle around the top. Again, everything should be really snug. Pull this out a little bit. So the frustrating part with a living hinge is if it's the hinges are too close together, they're going to break when you move them. So hopefully I've got this set up so that that doesn't happen to you. If it does, just reach out to me and I'll reconfigure it. But I've made about 10 of them now at this size, and they seem to work great. And the seam is pretty good right there. It's not super noticeable, so I'm not mad about that at all. Once I've done this, all I'm doing is taking just a little bit of glue around the edges here. I'm not a big fan of these. There we go. I don't know how many of you all glue your fingers together several times a week or several times a day, but it's a thing in my house. So I'm just going to set that there. Even it out a little bit. Get a nice little base on here. It is inset, and that's perfectly fine. Again, now I've glued my fingers to it. And then I'm going to glue this top piece onto here. So again, I am going to little pieces of glue, just little bits. A little bit on the top here, a little bit on the top here, a little bit here, and a little bit here. This Gorilla Glue, you don't need a lot of it, but again, not a huge fan. But it's what my husband had left in his toolbox because I'm out. Haha. All right, so that is our little basket. And we're going to let that dry, and then we will put the chains on. All right, so I have my chains prepped. I do 7 links. These are, again, decorative chain that I picked up at Home Depot. They're like an inch long, maybe a 1/16 of an inch round. I do 7 links per side, and these are going to go into this spot here and here, and then we are going to put them in our basket. So actually, I say that, but we're going to start with our basket. And we've got these little holes. I go ahead and put my chain through. And I just use vice grips, because I like tools, to tighten these up a little bit. As you can see, I kind of pulled this one a little too hard, so it's bent over. I'll fix that later. But I just use my vice grips to put them back together. I say that and watch me struggle. There we go. And then I'm going to put one on this side. All right. Then I will put them on here as well. I'll clip them in on either side of the bottom of the hot air balloon. So I'll just tighten those up, and then I'll get it ready to hang. All right, so this is it put together and hanging. I'm going to switch to my other camera here and show you what it looks like outside. It doesn't look as impressive as in here as it is going to look outside, all lit up with the fairy lights, I think, but still a pretty cool looking hot air balloon made of acrylic. All right, so I thought I was going to go outside and show you guys this, but it's not quite dark enough out. So yeah, this is what this one looks like, all lit up. It's got my little mountain scene, which I think is really pretty. I don't have the twinkle lights in this one right now because mine are all dead, but it does look really impressive with those twinkle lights or high LEDs. And depending on what you use for flex pattern ply, you get these really cool offshoots of color because we're using such big lenses in this one, which is just super pretty on a patio or on a back deck. So right now I am selling these for about $65. They are going pretty well. So don't be afraid to jump in and make a few. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you learned something.